Hello, my friends. I am in my kitchen in my neck of the woods in Jamaica. So, what's on the menu today? Today, I'll be making a bean stew, vegan style. So, this is great northern beans. And so, I'm not sure if you'll be able to find this brand. Here in Jamaica, but I'm sure it is here somewhere. And so, yeah, so I'll be making some vegan stew, and I'm gonna use the good old coconut for the base as well. So stay tuned, y'all. So, my friends, to start, you will soak your beans overnight, and you want to know the trick you can use to ensure that your beans cooked very quickly. Come closer. You can add a little bit of baking soda, the aluminum free baking soda. So you just can add like a little bit. So I'm just gonna add some garlic to mine right now because I don't have any aluminum free baking soda. I am out of it. So, okay, my friends, so the beans, it's half cooked. So I am going to add all my ingredients right now. Over there, I have some quinoa cooking. So I am going to have mine with quinoa, and my husband is going to have his with some yellow yam and sweet potatoes, right? So here we go. Let's first add our pumpkin. After all the other spices that I've cut up. So the pumpkin has been added, then I'm going to add some spices. So you have your salt to taste, some garlic powder, some Mrs. Dash, some ginger, some oregano, and some basil. So here we go. These are all the spices and coconut milk. So let me give you a little bit of hint about sage. When you're cooking plant-based or vegan, sage give your stew a meaty flavor, but you don't use a lot. So you can add this to your grocery list when you go back grocery shopping, okay? So that's a little tip for today. So I gave you 2 tips, a little bit of aluminum-free baking soda to help soften the beans, and sage to help, with flavoring. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna put everything in right now. Okay, my friends, so I've added the coconut milk and all the spices. So this is going to turn into a thick consistency. Another spice that you could add is some turmeric. If you don't have turmeric, just dash a little bit of curry, a little bit. The good old Better Pack Jamaican curry. And so this is going to cook. So this is going to be very thick because it is a stew. And so I'm just going to cover it and just let it take its time and simmer. Okay, I've also added my Scotch bonnet pepper, or if you don't have Scotch bonnet, just add some cayenne pepper. And there's the quinoa over there. Just turn the stove down low. Just turn the stove down low. Okay, my friends, so once, it's almost ready, I will take you to the stove. Alrighty. Friends, let's see how the stew is coming along. Yeah. Okay, see how it's getting a little thicker? So your pumpkin or your squash or your white potatoes can be your base for it to get thick. So you know what? I decided to jazz this up a little bit. So I'm going to just jazz it up. So I went to the garden and I got some collard greens, and I ensured that I picked the ones that are very small so that it's easy to cook. So I'm just going to put this in and stir it in. So yes, my friends, when you're cooking plant-based, you gotta experiment with your spices, and when you're adding additional stuff, you just have to experiment. So this will give it a little bit more color because we have the yellow going. So, you know, your plate, when you're eating, your plate should look like the rainbow. Different colors should be in your plate, right? So, yeah, so I will let this simmer down some more and then I'll come back and show you. So the quinoa is completely cooked. So as I said, I'm gonna have my stew with some quinoa and my husband will have his with ground provisions, okay? So, okay, my friends, okay. Let's go into the kitchen and let's see how the stew is coming along. So I hope I have inspired you today how to make like a meatless, protein-packed dish, and it tastes so yummy. Okay, come, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay, my friends, here we go. Here is the stew. It's completely cooked. As you can see that it is very, very thick. You don't have to mix any cornstarch to add to this for it to be thickened. Just the pumpkin, as I said, or your squash or your white potatoes to this. And as you can see, I've added the colored greens to it and it just looks amazing. And it tastes amazing as well. It's going to be our supper for tonight. This is bean stew, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you will try it. You would be amazed as to how filling this is, right? You can eat it with even bread. It is so yummy, my friends, so yummy. Okay, my friends, there you go. Quinoa and white navy beans stew. So when you're cooking plant-based meals, you have to ensure that the taste is there. So make sure you add your spices to bring out the flavor, okay? And so the green stuff that you see is the colored greens that I picked from my garden just to give the dish. And I hope you will, spend a little bit of time and create this dish for your family. If you are a plant-based slash vegan, this dish is for you. So here we are. So that's the cassava we harvest from our garden. So it's going to be cassava. I'm going to add some cornmeal, okay? And those are my spices. I'm going to put some raisins, cinnamon, vanilla, pumpkin spice, some coconut we're going to use as our milk, and we're going to add some good old brown sugar and add some nutmeg for spice. So there you go, my friends. I'm just going to go step by step. So I'm going to peel the cassava and I'll just show you how to peel the cassava. Okay, my friends, the cassava. So this is how I see my grandmother do it in the kitchen back when I was a very, very small child. This is what she did. She made these like a carving all the way down, right? So you go back to the top. So we're not gonna, some people will peel it down. This is how I grew up peeling the cassava. So it's supposed to just come off like in that little twirly look, but it is not. It is not. It is not. It is not. But this is how, you know what I mean. If you're from the Caribbean and you eat cassava, a lot of different cultures peeled it differently, but this is how I was brought up. So I'm just trying to see if I can get it rolling, but it's not. So you just have to just take it step. Ooh, there it, see? It's supposed to be coming off like that, right? However, It is not, but that's just how it's done. Okay, my friends, that's how you peel your cassava. I think I got it, my friends. Look. That's how it's supposed to come off. Like you're taking off paper. You know when you have wallpaper and you're stripping it, it's supposed to come off like that. See? Aha! There it is, my friends. There it is. There it is. And listen, I ain't gonna grate or anything. I am gonna chop it and I'm gonna put it in the blender and let it blend. Remember, it's my version, quick and easy. Okay, my friends, so we're just gonna dice it and we're just gonna throw it in the blender, okay? Cut it down in half and then you like dice it, okay? There we go. Just dice and then you will blend. All your stuff ready. There you go. Blend, blend, blend. Now for the coconut. Okay, my friend, everything is added in. Remember, this is my way, so I put some cornmeal in instead of flour to give it a little bind. So I'm gonna mix, mix, mix now. Mix, mix, mix now. So my friends, it's all done. All the mixing is done. So I add some raisins to it. And you can melt some butter and add to this. I have some coconut oil, so I just added it in there. And then it's ready to be poured into your baking dish, okay? And so don't ask me the measurements, please. I don't know. I just dash a little bit here and there for the combination because I am not a baker. I just like throwing things together, and because it's not going on the food channel for the baking competition, I just do things like this. And especially my husband, he enjoyed whatever I bake. So, ready for pouring, my friends, ready for pouring. Remember, I am in Jamaica, in my neck of the woods, and you know, you just have to, if you can't find certain ingredients, just use whatever you have, right? Just use whatever you have. Baking dish all prepped and ready. I am using parchment paper. And here we go. So voila, my friends, she is ready for the oven. Hello, my friends. Voila, voila, voila. It's voila. There it is. Cassava pudding. And so I would say it's cassava cornmeal pudding. Okay. So just a little bit of Devon House grape nut coconut ice cream on top just to top it off. Okay. So there you go, my friends. It is all done. I am so happy. It tastes yummy and I'm just going to enjoy, right?